The heart restoration function, the process itself, is largely based out of science. It's based in 0 point. It's based on the concept of the toroid. It's based on the concept of heart coherence. You can even look into Darwin's lost theory of love, where he said the only way to really transcend the concept of survival of the fittest, which is basically very much a predatory type of mode, is the concept of the heart transcends, this state and this interconnectedness. And the body is not really physical. I mean, matter is really not much of everything. It's very minor amount of what's really out there in the vacuum, where you have all consciousness and endless energy, which you'd understand if you can look at Tesla. The heart itself is the point to which we are connected to this much larger ability to function, this ability to transcend all of our issues. And so the brain actually kind of works like it's, not only does it have magnetic qualities in it, it also has what functions similar to like a radio. And so we actually receiving, transmitting, basically without even realizing that that's what's happening. And a lot of this stuff's going on at a subconscious level, and we're transmitting, receiving. Sometimes it's body language, but other times, we're actually kind of picking up on other people's, internal dialogue or messages. We receive these things. We don't really understand how or why, but really our brains do work a lot like radio. And you will be able to easily find that. You can find that even in patents today, that the brain does work like radio. So, when you look at the work from the morphic field, Rupert Sheldrake, and you look at some of the things that Princeton's done, the random number generators and the global consciousness work, and there's a lot of work that's been centered around that. So what we're doing is basically kind of using the brain's ability to send and receive, or basically trying to bring that information in to solve the problem that we have. So it's like, hey, I need to get the information that I need to be able to solve this particular issue that I'm having. And then what we do is that we're then, once we have that information, we're then routing that around where the block is. So the block basically is occurring, I believe, the block occurs at the vagus nerve. When we get into a fear state, my theory on this, based on the research that I've done, is that in a fear state, polyvagal theory talks about a low and a high tone. The low tone, it's predatory tone, puts us into a state of emotion, reaction, everything is feeling an emotion. It's like, what does your gut tell you? Okay, right? So everything is really reactive, reactionary, and it's basically you're kind of all alone in the world. You're not connected to anything. It's, survival of the fittest mode. Okay, but in the higher tone, you have this connectedness with other things. So you're not alone anymore in the world. You're connected to, you have a higher function. You have higher ability to communicate. So the reason that we're using the hand sequence is because the hand is electrical. It emanates electricity from it. You can even talk to the Qigong masters. They'll tell you that the hands, all the body, you're emanating electrical, magnetic all the time. And the hands and many of the ends of the body, feet, you radiate energy. So what we're doing is just kind of creating a circuit, right, from the head around the block in the throat to the heart. And then we're just kind of holding that there. I like to keep it off because I'm a feeling person. I like to feel energy. Some people don't feel energy, and that's okay. You can see it, visualize it, smell it, sense it, taste it. Everybody has a different experience when they're doing work like this, and that doesn't really matter. Even if you can't feel it, just be intentional. Okay, just be intentional in your process. So basically what you're doing is you're basically working to obtain the information that you need with the radio, that you need to move through the particular issue, and then you're then rerouting using that electrical circuit to bypass the block that happens in the throat that's keeping you in a lower fear state. Vagal tone can't achieve bypassing the block in the vagus nerve. So we're bypassing that block using our electrical. Two hands, one at the back of the head, can't really see it, but it's off the head, and then one at the heart. And that's the formation, and then so you're bringing the information in that you need, and then you're transforming it. You are transcending this trauma or issue that you have, or you're bringing in the information that you need and making that happen, you're making it possible using your heart. And why does the heart matter? Because the heart is that connection to 0 point. It's the connection back into all things. That our cells are in and out of reality in every second. So what we're doing is accessing the point through the heart. And what's fascinating about the heart is if you were to take the heart, and I've seen somebody actually do this, and it can be pulled apart, and it actually is it's almost like two spiraled cones, but I've seen the person that was able to actually map it into a toroid. So at its very center, it's like it spirals in, and then it goes back out. And so using the heart, you can actually you're bringing this focus in to your starting point. I believe everything, builds off the heart from the beginning anyway, even from the womb. So, in fact, there's brain cells actually in the heart, which was kind of cool information to have. But anyway, so bottom line is you're using this receiver and transmitter, bringing the information in that you need to solve this problem, bypassing the block that happens when you're in a fear state. It happens at the vagus nerve, and then you're bringing that into your heart, and you're creating this circuit, and then you're creating this intention. Now you're also creating intention, and in this process you are taking action, you're creating intention, and you're being very, very deliberate. You've made statements of what you don't want in your field anymore, and you put in statements that what you do want in your field, and you're being very deliberate in redefining who you are. What's in your field? What defines you? You're redefining who you are, and that's the whole point of the I am method, is that you are now redefining who you are. I am not this scared person that's terrified about a jam jar that broke when I was 3. I am a powerful individual. I am loved. I am treated well. People treat me with respect. People speak to me with respect. I speak to people with respect. I am a kind and loving individual. I refrain from yelling. People refrain from yelling at me. It's these are the kinds of in and out statements. You're being very deliberate in what you're going to change here. And so that's the concept. This is how we redefine ourselves. This is how we move through severely traumatic event with ease. It's the ability to use the heart to access and use the brain to get the information that you need in from the morphic field, to get that collective knowledge that's available all the time, at all times, and then you bring it into the heart and you're transcending this issue. You're bringing resolution to this issue. It's granted, it's largely on a subconscious mind level, but you have to understand that 90% of your life is defined by what your subconscious mind is doing, is thinking, what's there. So 10% is you on the treadmill trying to make change, while the other 90 is just, standing on it, slowing you down. It's very frustrating. In some cases, we have opposing beliefs. I'm powerful, I'm weak. So if this is the kinds of things that you have in your field, you need to get these into alignment. It's like, money is evil. I need money. It's like, I'm nothing without money. And at the same time, you can be saying, I love money. All these things, they kind of create this conflict. And so that's where you have the ability, using meso testing, you have the ability to get all these things in alignment. You're going to definitely address these from both aspects, that right-left, that polarity look at it. You're going to be doing the mirroring statements. How do I treat people? How do they treat me? How do I treat money? How does money treat me? Everything's relational. Everything's relationship. Everything's about balance. Everything's about mirroring. And so really just looking at the entire picture, put it in the way you want it, do the heart restoration. When you've identified a primary event, you're going to identify what your statements are in that, and then how would you map that? How would that look? What do you want to be in your field? What's there now? And how do you want to change it pertaining to that particular event that's occurred. So the heart restoration method, it's about deliberately focusing on your heart with the specific statements on your list, and that you're saying, I'm going to change all these, and you're going to change them all at once. You've already mapped it out. Here's what you're inserting, here's what you're removing, and you're going to, delete these things, insert these things. It's just like a contract. This is your contract with the world. This is your contract with the universe. It's your contract with your interactions with everything, with yourself, and how that then shows up in your field, because now you've charged a whole new thing. You had all these terrible things that were charged. You've just charged a whole new set of beliefs. You've charged a whole new set of agreements in your field. Now that is what you're going to attract. That's the kind of stuff you're going to attract. I'm powerful in the workplace. My bosses treat me with respect. My family treats me with respect. It changes. I've seen it change. I've seen lifelong patterns of relationship. One person just the other day said, my brother and I are getting along. The same person that like spent an entire lifetime at war with their brother. And now, suddenly the relationship has changed. Why? Because her agreements had to change with him first. She couldn't have a good, healthy relationship with him because in her field, this was a nightmare scenario, right? Now these agreements in her field have changed, and now her relationship with him has changed. And so this is the kind of thing you need to understand. What we are saying out here, it's very real, and you'll see massive amounts of changes. And the emotional change is just that's the easy part. That's the part where I know it doesn't seem like it should be easy, but it is easy. As the first thing to go is the emotional charge is gone. You already feel better. You already feel lighter. But now that this process is over with, you also are now saying something new in your field, and then you'll start to see that affect you and the people in your relationships, and in your life, and the things that start to come into your life. That's kind of secondary. The first thing you notice is how you feel. So the heart restoration process, we will actually go through that entire process and we'll do an entire sequence of statements. And but I just kind of want to give you the understanding. It uses the faculties of our full heart coherence to neutralize and reset any and all improperly stored or malignly stored data within the framework of the self, the ego, in order to gain better understanding, life direction, shifting and releasing from old patterns or blocks to our true power of our infinite self. And so that's what you are. And you have access to everything. You just need to know how to access it. And it's all through the heart. And that's what this process is about. So we'll get into that in more detail.